All right, that was awesome. Starting it off here today, do it live. Got Jerry as my co-host, and gonna hopefully keep seeing folks like coming on in. It is Christmas Eve for me over here on Big Island of Hawaii. That's 24th of December for those who don't celebrate that holiday. And for you folks over there in Australia, yeah, it is already Christmas over there. So that's going on. And same thing for the Philippines, I'm sure, and everywhere else across that date line. And yeah, this is me and Jerry. We put our heads together for a show. I discussed the idea of manifestation, and then I connected that one over to the first of the 7 Hermetic principles, things that you find in the Kybalion. That is the principle of mentalism, and those were my immediate ideas. Yeah, now I wanted to say, Jerry, we had some great talks before the show. You want to touch on any of the highlights of of our prep work, like what really struck you?
Yes, I first want to say that I am doing this in my dining room. So my family's kind of going nuts right now, in case you guys hear them yelling in the background. I wanted to say that me and Darrell chose to do this live or host this podcast yesterday. So there was little prep, but Darrell came up with some fascinating ideas. I had some other ideas in mind, but I said, let's roll with what Darrell has because this is important. It's about manifestation. So we met up about an hour ago just to discuss what videos we're going to share. And one is going to be a TikTok. So, don't run away. It is actually informative. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here. And yeah, I can play these clips whenever you give the go, Darrell.
Yeah, in a moment. Yeah, we'll get started on that. I think that there's a lot of new agey talk that goes around the idea of manifestation, that thought creates reality, that thinking and intention and words are literally casting spells. That's where you get the word spelling from. I think I even saw something recently where in all the other languages, the idea of spelling and grammar never goes into touching on occult things. It's always the words used for discussing spelling don't involve something that would also be, literally spells. Yeah. So it's a fascinating little idea or concept that this language that I'm using right now, the only one that I'm really well trained in, English, is already designed to be semi-magical in the way it's built. So there's that component of it. There's a component of just writing things down as opposed to typing them as a more potent way of making things manifest. And yeah, I think it'd be good to start it off to say, like, I learned about the Kybalion and the 7 Hermetic principles by watching Mark Passio. And I think that probably was more than 10 years ago. I'm not exactly even sure when this was, but it could be approaching the 10-year mark at this point. And I think this is a great time to play that clip of Mark. I think he's in Philadelphia. I think he's given a talk. I'm going to pretend that maybe Rich was filming this one. I'm gonna start putting words into your mouth there, Rich. So I'll do that to try to make you unmute and correct me. So yeah, let's play Mark Passio.
Such because it's hermetically sealed, like natural law is. Natural law is hermetically sealed. It is binding principles that are immutable. They are laws that are in operation that cannot be changed. Hence, they are hermetically sealed. So these 7 general principles, they are mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, which is a huge one, which we'll be getting into, and gender. So I'm going to briefly describe what each of these are and what they are about. The principle of mentalism states that the all, everything in creation, is actually a manifestation of mind. The all is mind. Okay, what this means is everything that happens has to be a result of a mental state which preceded it. Everything. For anything to exist, thoughts had to form first, and then they formed the physical reality after. The universe itself is a mental construct of the Creator. Thoughts lead to the manifestation of things and events. Thoughts create conditions. Thoughts create things and conditions. They cannot just magically manifest themselves. Thought comes first. Thoughts create our state of existence and the quality of our experience here on earth, ultimately. Therefore, be responsible for everything. We should be responsible for everything that we create by being responsible for that which we think. Because the thought processes are what are driving the behaviors. People behave the way they do because they have certain belief systems embedded in the mind and running like a program. Their thoughts and their emotions are driving their actions. So the behavior is not magically suddenly going to just change. The thoughts and emotions have to change because they're the driving force behind the behavior.
Yeah, that's kind of the important part right there. Just to understand the thought does seem to correlate to creating reality. I just did some manifestation work recently that was, I was describing off the off this recording, but I will say that what I was writing down was very much in the positive. Like I already have what I want, but I'm getting more and I am getting more and more of it all the time. And that's the important part to focus on. I think if you're going to start to do some manifesting magic, which just means utilizing this idea of thought creating reality, and that's on the one side. On the other side, then there's actually taking it, actually taking action. So I think a lot of what I've gotten from being in autonomy and around autonomizers in general is to move forward about taking action and to obviously to make good plans. But some of it is, honestly, some things are just strictly magical. Like, how do I really, really attract the type of clientele that I want? Honestly, that's magic, like I don't really just like, there's no 100% pure recipe. It's like falling in love, it's not going to for sure happen. I think like as a recipe, 100% where, oh, I simply go on this website and then I find my life partner where it works out perfectly forever. It's like, no, it's going to actually like take some intention and thought, I think, behind it. So this was the positive version I wanted to touch on. And yeah, I think the house that I'm renting right now is a big upgrade from when I started with autonomy, where I was living in a much tinier place by the ocean. And now I'm in a much more private place about 2.5 miles away from that place. I love to keep it right here into the Hawaiian Paradise Park area. But I had to just sort of first find this place and sort of envision that I can do better, that I'm going to do better. I'm going to attract better into my life. And then from there, like actually being here and then showing up here. And the words that I put into it very much count. So I used to be like, I want this and I want that. And I'd write that down on my manifestation paper. And far as I can tell, the universe was like, yep, you sure do want those things, Darrell. You sure do want clients and money and all that kind of stuff. You can keep wanting it because that's what you want. You're sitting there wanting stuff, and now I have changed it to, okay, specifically, I have these things and I'm getting more of them is how I write it down. I was curious, what's your history with your own manifestation? Like what have you manifested, Jerry?
Great question. I think I've manifested abundance in my life since I joined Autonomy, because I was in a scarcity mindset. That's what really pulled me into Autonomy. I had a day conversation with myself whether I wanted to join or not, because I didn't have a budget for it, right? So I said, I'm gonna see this as an investment, and this can create money for me. And I actually did a sales role play integration exercise during the last Sunday Q&A with Phoenix. And I told him, hey, I saw that copywriters can make up to $100,000 a year if they're good at their job. So he asked me, I was kind of giving him like some pushback on the price. I said $5,000 is a lot, but he said, well, would it be worth it to pay $5,000 if I can end up making $100,000 eventually? And that just is kind of like, that is a no-brainer. So just taking action into abundance, my set goals, and that is how I have manifested abundance.
That's sweet. And also, from the way I remember meeting you, you were a military man before, and you're no longer in that situation. It seemed like that was a thing that you also created. Did I get that right, Jerry?
No, that's a great point, because when I said I'm leaving like as soon as possible, the people around me were just like, you should be scared. Like, you don't, seems like you don't have a plan set up. And as long as like I know that I want to do good, I want to provide solutions for people, help them, you know, elevate, that the universe will provide for me. So yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Darrell.
I gotcha. Thanks. Man, it's so cool to hear all the sounds of people and Christmas, because I'll say that this is this is a Christmas where I didn't really manifest the type of Christmas that I wanted this year, which was just like closeness with like a long-term girlfriend, and like going to the beach, and maybe even bring some friends together. Ohana is what we call it. It's the word here in Hawaiian meaning family. And I usually try to have that every Christmas or Thanksgiving. We for sure had an awesome Thanksgiving of the Ohana, of just like a lot of people who've moved here. We have that type of community where like we've moved here specifically for various reasons, and we happen to be thousands of miles from our family of origin, the FOO, or FU, as Stefan Molyneux would call it. And you know, thousands of miles away is where those people are. And you know, I definitely talked to those people, but I didn't defoo them, that is. But they didn't offer to say, like, you know, it's like, hey, I really want to see you, I'm sending a ticket out for you. Like, no, there was no offer of anything like that, like wanting to really connect deeply. And that's one of the reasons why I moved all the way out here. It's like I'm not really like feeling it with like a need to be really close to them, a need for deep connection in that kind of New York kind of way. There's a New York accent, and that's where my family all is right now. That almost all of my family. My daughter is in Vermont, and I have some friends over there as well, which is pretty close to New York relatively. And yet, you know, stepping into manifesting things on the positive is been about how I think about things. So I did work to manifest, you know, at least some people that I could hang out with. I've got a guy to go on a nice hike with to a beach that I've never seen before, because it was just created in 2018, and I haven't hiked to go see this beach yet. So that's my Christmas Day plan, to go on a bit of a hike and check out to see what does the Kapoho beach look like now. So perspective wise, Kapoho was an amazing place that encompassed vacation land and lower Kapoho of these tide pools that were like incredibly like intricate, that you could just jump right in and snorkel around and see all kinds of beautiful coral and fish, and just enjoy yourself like all day long if you wanted to. And you'd see all these expensive homes there. Well, no longer. In 2018, a huge amount of lava at the amount of one dump truck per second was gushing out of Fissure 8 and then has made all of that covered in lava, like all of those reefs, everything like that, all of those, almost every single one of those homes is covered with lava. They were all gone. And there's more real estate, that there's another, I think 3.5 plus square miles of island now to like of like essentially lava rock that's slowly cooling off. Like that's the way it works over here, still steaming in some places. And that's a component of things that happen here on this I would say this set of about 5 volcanoes that compose this island, but although technically it's all mostly one. So back to the whole idea of mentalism, how thought creates reality. That's the positive version that I think we've been touching on, but there's a negative version that the ruling class utilize as well. And this is that next clip, that one that is from TikTok that I found from this person, Sandy G. She happened to be really focused on exposing the fluoride industry and other components of that. I think it's pretty amazing just to understand that the idea of mentalism and thought creates reality. It starts with obviously like, okay, what is it that you want to create? And then you do the work to create that. So in the negative version, we can see in this video coming up where the ruling class had a problem. What do we do with all this fluoride, this byproduct of the industries, the nuclear industry, the aluminum industry, all these other various industries, the petroleum industry? There's so many industries that utilize or have a byproduct of actual fluoride. And how are they going to dispose of this stuff without going into debt for billions of dollars? Because to safely dispose of all that fluoride is going to just be very expensive. How are you going to do it? And they came up with some really creative solutions to do that, which required obviously a whole lot of people being very, not a whole lot of people lacking critical thinking skills. That's kind of what I would say. So yeah, I think, Jerry, this would be a good point to play that specific clip, and we'll get onto it. Yes. Everything is only a few thousand clicks away.
Welcome back to another episode of Fluoridation is a Crime Against Humanity. If you're new to my page, let me just give you a short introduction. So I discuss fluoride because fluoride is a neurotoxin and also an enzyme killer that the American government, in collusion with American industry and the Atomic Energy Commission, bamboozled the American people into putting into our water and drinking every day. I'll explain how all of this was possible. So this is Francis Frary, and at the time he was one of the most powerful science bureaucrats in the United States. And also, he was the director of research for Alcoa, so he helped industry to grapple with fluoride emissions damage claims, which they were facing billions at the time. So during this time, Judy Cox was at the Mellon Institute trying to find any evidence, conducting studies showing that fluoride was necessary for dental health. And since even to this day, there is no scientific or medical evidence displaying that fluoride is necessary for dental health or even beneficial to human health at all. So he was having a pretty hard time. So it was Francis Frary who had the radical idea, instead of, since discussion around the world at that time was removing fluoride from waters or abandoning water sources altogether due to modeling of teeth and other skeletal and heart conditions, respiratory conditions that were being contracted from fluoride, instead of removing it, why not put more in? It was an outlandish proposal, but Cox ran with it. And in 1939, at the American Water Works meeting in Philadelphia, he made the first public proposal at adding more fluoride into the water. So industry could only do so much to shape public opinion around favoring fluoride, which would benefit industry because they wouldn't have to spend the millions of, if not billions of dollars of disposing this toxic gas properly. They enlisted the help of Edward Bernays, Sigmund Freud's nephew, also known as the father of propaganda. One of his greatest achievements before duping the American public into putting this toxic byproduct into our water was getting women to smoke. So companies like General Motors, DuPont, Steel, Standard Oil, they all enlisted the help of And so the fluoride propaganda started, and also the smear campaign of any doctors or dentists or scientists or any medical professionals that stepped forward with evidence showing that fluoride was actually harmful to the human physiology. He was responsible for painting them as lunatics or not informed or just people out for money. So he truly lived up to his name, the father of propaganda. So towards the end of his life, he gave an interview to Christopher Bryson, who wrote this book and received awards for his investigative journalism, in which he stated to him that selling fluoride to the American people was child's play. Fucking child's play. Sorry, it just makes me so mad. So this concludes the industrial conflicts of interest involved in the fluoridation program. Now we will move on to the atomic bomb.
Yeah, I found that one. I found it really fascinating. And because, so here the ruling class had that problem. How are we going to get rid of all this toxic waste without, going bankrupt, or I don't know, say without basically, without losing so much profit? So they manifested for themselves Francis Frary, someone who was able to, director of research at Alcoa. That's the American aluminum company of America, American Aluminum Company. I'm sorry, Aluminum Company of America. That's what Alcoa, I think, stands for. And yeah, he was one of the people. Then we had Gerald Judy Cox as another player in that whole drama. And they needed to enlist someone who really could get the PR thing done. And so the same guy who sold cigarettes to women, that would be Edward Bernays. Well, he happened to sell the idea of, putting fluoride into water, and then obviously through, smear campaigns, painting anyone who was against that idea as they're against dental health. And I personally remember when I moved to Ireland here, and I needed some side jobs because I needed to have some income. I found myself working for a retired surgeon, and this guy was fully, what can I say? He really took the blue pill really hard. He really he bought into everything that was the official line of where information comes from, so that he was actually bemoaning the fact that none of the water here in the island of Hawaii is fluoridated. And that was a tragedy because all the poor people were not getting enough fluoride to help prevent their tooth decay. And I knew better at that time, but I was like, I don't have anything to say to this guy about that. Like, I'm here just to do weed whacking and cutting down grasses while I'm listening to amazing podcasts, at the same time. I was, making money while I'm learning things at the same time. That's what I was working on manifesting. But these guys manifested several different people in a row. We needed, Francis Frary to have the idea of just what if we just started adding fluoride to the water and call it a health benefit? Can we have someone spin that? Oh, we've got Edward Bernays over here. And by the way, speaking of Bernays, that guy, obviously nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he's the godfather of modern propaganda. He happens, here we have Netflix founder Mark Bernays Randolph. He happens to be the great grandnephew of Edward Bernays. So we now have in the modern world the same, lineage of people taking over perception management and moving things forward. So I think it's really good to understand that mentalism and thought creating reality and manifestation is working also against everyone, for folks who, just happen to not be paying attention. And it's really useful to just be aware of that potential of the problem of, things happening in that way. And I'm probably actually, I put a star on this one because I like to go get books into my computer, and eventually, I try to buy the paper version of it too. But I'm going to get The Fluoride Deception by Christopher Bryson, and I go to library.lol, and usually I could find any book that's not super duper modern. Almost every single book that I want, I can go to library.lol, and it's a libgen generator. It's got 3 different sites that you could go to, and you can then go ahead and grab the mirror form of it and get the PDF or EPUB. I use both of those forms, but they have other forms of books as well. And I fully plan to get The Fluoride Deception, since I didn't know that it was actually like from the deathbed of Edward Bernays. I think that's fascinating. Yeah, I know it's got like it's Christmas time over there at your household, Jerry, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I was just pulling up the library.lol. It wouldn't like pop up until I searched it in the search engine. So I'm gonna share that to you guys right now.
Yeah, actually, I can walk you through the process. Yeah,
Yeah.
put in the fluoride deception right into there, into the search bar, and we'll see if this works. And there we go. Now we have a PDF version. We have the EPUB version. It depends on how you like to read things, basically. I find that EPUB readers are easy. I use Ice Cream Reader, which is a free EPUB reader. And then you go to this mirror down there at the lower left, I guess, and click that. And then you go up to the get, where it says get up there at the top in the center, and click that. And now you save it where you want to save it. You put it where in your computer you want it to go. I start throwing it in my desktop, like onto the screen, until I have too many books, and then I put them into a folder specifically. I start to separate things into folders. But yeah, you see that now you've got the whole book, and now everyone out there, now you know how to get books when you're obviously getting books immediately and for free. And then you can go through the book, you can use it for making shows like this. You can then also consider, are you going to invest in the paper copy of it? And then, like, I think that's a really good thing. I did that for this book, which is called What Really Makes You Ill by Dawn Lester and David Parker. It's a book all about the germ theory of disease, which and the terrain model of health and disease. And it's about 700 pages thick. So having the PDF version of it is really useful for my show, Not Medical Advice. I can go and actually like reference certain components of the book and not have like the struggle of trying to, just, I don't have a docu-cam like some people do. I don't have like a way to zoom right into the book yet. I'll be upgrading to that level of studio in the future. But for right now, I find like, hey, what's really awesome is I could just share like the specific page that I want, boom, right here on the screen, and highlight specific sections even. That's one thing I love about these PDFs and EPUBs is they allow for tools like that to really like focus in on it and utilize it. It's a really, that's a really cool thing. So there's benefits of what manifests. I manifested a relationship that gave me really good workouts and yoga and library.lol and a lot of wonderful connections. That relationship is over, but I have all those benefits. I have all those awesome experiences that I've lived through, and I'm psyched to share library.lol as a resource there. I think that it still is a good idea to sort of know a little bit more. Since I touched on, I think I touched on like that thing, the germ theory of disease, and that was another component of how they sold fluoride, which I didn't even know that. So I think that the first TikTok that we touched on, I think that one, I should just double check here to say which one's got the Robert Koch there. It is, it's that second one, Robert Koch manifesting the germ theory. I think we could play that one. It's, again, these are short little videos that are jam-packed with data.
All right, let's get right back into it. So as I stated in my last video, Robert Koch, the father of germ theory, after his theory came out, all studies being done on dust halation in the workplace and the diseases that were contracted from these horrific work conditions, mainly in relation to fluoride gases and fluorinated particles, all of that ceased, and all cases of physis, consumption, silicosis, all of that was now being classified as tuberculosis. And it was he in 1882 that declared that he had found the tuberculi bacterium, essentially saying he had found the cause for tuberculosis. So companies like Alcoa, U.S. Steel, foundries all across the United States took a sigh of relief because now, instead of pointing to the pollution and the workers' conditions, now they could blame these industrial diseases on bacteria. So Koch had a convention where he displayed his new vaccine, and when asked what the ingredients were, he said it was a secret and he could not reveal it. And the medical establishment accepted that. So without displaying any real evidence that his vaccines worked, he received one of Germany's highest awards, which was the Cross of the Order of the Red Eagle. I don't know if this is a picture, I just found something that looked like it. And had an infectious disease institute built where he was installed as the director to focus on the problem of tuberculosis. So they began producing his secret vaccine and began sending it to hospitals across the nation. And one journalist by the name of Conan Doyle walked into one of these hospitals just to see what was becoming of these patients. And what he saw was shocking. What he saw was that the tubercular patients that were injected with the vaccine were suffering from shivers, high fevers, convulsions, thrashing around. And since the term had not been created yet, what he was witnessing was actually the first recordings of shock. So just be clear, the vaccine that had afforded Koch the institute and the award was sending the patients that it was supposed to help into shock. At first, Koch responded saying that these were just small deaths, they were going to die anyways, but as the death count started to rise, he started to feel the pressure. So much so that he revealed the ingredients to his secret vaccine, which ended up being just dead tuberculosis microbes in glycerin extract. So he hightailed it to Egypt to deflect the storm that was coming his way. And interestingly enough, it was his germ theory that not only quieted the storm the industry was facing, but helped to give birth to trillion-dollar industries like that of the vaccine, the pharmaceutical industry, because under his theory, each disease was caused by a different microorganism that needed protecting against. That these germs were causing the disease no matter if you were healthy or not. I know you're probably like, what? But we have more to go down this rabbit hole, so let's keep digging. Check out my next video, and in the meantime, stop drinking.
Yeah, check out all of her videos if you want to. You can look at Sandy G on TikTok. I'm gonna try to find her on YouTube as well. For
Darrell,
maybe, yes.
Darrell, this is Chris. She made a mistake. That's not shock. That's septic shock.
Oh, okay, that's a good distinction.
Yeah, big
So
distinction. Shock
yeah.
is from blood loss usually, or severe cold or something like that. But shivers, and fever is septic shock. So it's blood poisoning basically.
Right, and also the toxicological aspects of, like glycerin's not ready to go into the bloodstream. That's not a thing that the bloodstream is usually ready to handle. So that would be a toxic component.
Yeah,
And
you could probably call it toxic shock too.
I would, yeah, that's what I would be doing. Because yeah, I think it was really good to see that video there. Oh, thank you for sharing that up there. That helps. So yeah, septic is sepsis, organ injury in response to infection. So anything around the idea of infection, I think it's good to sort of maybe, like with any statement, like I was taught a long time ago, instead of having a period at the end of the statement, make a question mark at the end of the statement. It's like, is it infection? And what I would propose is that when you look into the history of the germ theory, and again, like folks like Robert Koch and folks like Louis Pasteur were well funded by these industry giants to promote those ideas, because they made they needed the idea of the germ theory in order to sell that a single germ causes a single disease. In fact, where I live in Hawaii, TB, tuberculosis, is the only one of those things that if you work in the healthcare industry anywhere on this island, in the official healthcare industry, not like privately, but like if you're working for an agency, a hospital, a clinic, etc., you're required to consistently keep getting tested for TB every year or every 2 years or something like that. And whatever they're injecting in your arm, I find it probably highly suspicious. It probably is extremely toxic to some degree. And I know people who, like there's no medical exemption from it. But all of that is based on this lie that I would say, or very highly likely to be inaccurate piece of data, where a tuberculinum bacteria causes those symptoms, when in reality, that was just the cover up from silicosis and fluoridosis poisoning of people in various industries. So again, good show, ruling class, for manifesting exactly what you needed to do in order to really build up whole new industries around an actual false germ theory that doesn't work that way, as far as I can tell. And of course, like anyone with humility, I could say, I could be wrong about that. But as far as I can tell, I think that there's a lot more evidence leaning in the side of the terrain model of health and disease. And what I see that, if big pharma and big government and, the various big media engines are all pushing in a certain direction to promote a narrative, if you believe that, just like the South Park ski instructor, you're going to say you're going to have a hard time if you believe in what they have to sell you. And I think you're going to have a lot easier time if you acknowledge instead that these are problems that are very solvable by addressing the two causes of all disease, which of course are toxicity and nutritional deficiencies. They not just nutritional deficiencies, but deficiencies in general. Since it's kind of like a lot of things you could call that nutrition. You could call sunlight nutrition. You could call good thoughts nutrition, right? Like nutrient type thoughts versus toxic like thoughts. But yeah, it all comes down to deficiency and then toxicity. And yeah, I had my little bananas earlier too. That was fun while watching videos with you guys. I think it's really, yeah. Go
So
for it, Jess.
the idea of deficiency makes most people think of taking a pill to fix the deficiency, when what they need is what God gave us, the sun, the earth, the real plants, things like that, instead of running for
and Chris, I'm actually really curious to hear more, like I never met you before. Sorry about that. Or if we did meet, I don't remember.
I stopped into one of your classes.
Yeah. Briefly, that's how I saw you. Okay. Yeah. That was mental emotional kung fu.
Right.
So then, and we weren't talking medicine at that point. We were doing the deficiency and toxicity of thoughts and words and actions at that point. And yeah. So like, I got some recipes for that one. What's your background, Chris? How do you know these things about septic shock and such?
Well, let's see where to start. When I was going to have my first baby, I asked all my friends, so what happens? I was only 17. So one of my friends said, well, when you get ready to push the baby out, they take you to a delivery room, which is an operating room. This is back in the 70s. And they tie down your arms. And I said, hell no, nobody's tying down my arms. I didn't realize that this was because of a surgery I had as a younger child, and they tied down my arms. I totally forgot about that, but I realized it just a few months ago that was probably the reason for my visceral reaction. I've been very independent minded ever since. So I knew someone that had an unassisted home birth. And so that's from that moment on, that's what I was planning on doing. And so that kind of made me the oddball. And I've always been attracted to the odd, different point of view of things. And I wanted to help other people have home births. So I wanted to become a midwife. I couldn't find a midwife. If I'd found a midwife when I was a teenager, I might have used one, but there weren't any in Ohio, not in Cleveland anyways. And so I started pursuing nursing because that was the only route I knew to become a midwife. And so I did 3.5 years of nursing school, but then I got pregnant with twins and I was sicker than my patients were in the clinical part. So I withdrew from that. And then when, I raised my kids, I homeschooled my kids. I was always on the crunchy side. I didn't know as much as I do now, but did my best to feed them naturally. And when the Queen of England bought controlling shares of Standard Oil of Ohio, it turned into British Petroleum. And we had to move to Texas in order to keep his job, my husband to keep his job. So once I got to Texas, within a week, I found a midwife that would apprentice me, because in Texas, you don't have to become a nurse first to become a midwife. So I became a midwife, and that's really alternative for most people. And, you know, just read everything I could get my hands on. And you know, in human physiology, I took 3 different chemistry classes and a human physiology course. And it's just painfully obvious that what the medical establishment does is not what they learned in physiology. It's totally counter to what the body needs and wants. And so I pretty much will read anything that's against the medical establishment to get their point of view. But I don't remember every step along the way how I got here. Just my personality.
That's awesome. And so if you're going to read everything that's against the medical establishment, you'll really like What Really Makes You Ill by Dawn Lester and David Parker. Again,
Yeah.
you can get that at a library. You got that one?
Yeah, just while you were talking about it, I downloaded
There we
it.
go. I also recommend Thugs, Drugs, and the War on Bugs.
Oh,
Bugs being like a term for, you know, germs and such. This is
yeah.
by Dr. Brad Case. Recommend that one. And that one is not available on library.lol that I could
Oh,
find.
is it too
I
new?
tried that one hard.
Pull another 3x5 card.
Yeah, you're gonna write this one down: Thugs, Drugs, and the War on Bugs by Dr. Brad Case, C-A-S-E. And that I actually had to pay money for. Chose to, didn't
Yeah.
have to.
Oh,
By the way, I really like.
I don't mind
Yeah.
paying money for books.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's something that everyone here in the show has some experience with. Like, we're going to invest in books. By the way, I really like the clinic behind you. It looks pretty like.
Oh yeah, this is my office in my home.
Sweet.
So I
Yeah.
just saw somebody today. Had to check and see if her water broke because she's not in labor, and that's a problem. So.
Well, first baby or not the first baby for the your-
First vaginal birth baby. So she has C-section
okay.
first. So it's like being a first-time mom.
Yeah. So yeah, I got to watch my daughter be born at home, and I was very grateful for the assistance of midwife assistant, and having another friend there to help, because it's quite an event, and
Yeah.
that labor was 30 hours long.
Oh, wow.
So it was yeah, and if it had been in a hospital, they would have done all kinds of things to intervene to induce labor and such. But and especially because my daughter was, you know, head up and then head down over and over again throughout the whole labor process.
Yeah.
And she ended up head down and was born just fine.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful for the experience that midwife did not have 4-wheel drive to get up my driveway. This is Vermont in like a snowstorm kind of thing. So she had to pull all her supplies up on a sled because she couldn't just simply drive it, you know.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have to worry about snow.
Me too. Yeah, that's partially why I live here. Snow is up on the mountain. I can see the snow when I'm driving around. Yeah, where it's supposed to be. Yeah. There are observatories up there on the mountain too. You know, that's what people do up there. So yeah, it was really good to hear some of your history on that. And now I want to know, Chris, do you have any history behind manifestation, behind like actually anything in the realm of whether simplistically noticing that your thoughts create reality, or more elaborately and focused, like writing and speaking things out to make them happen in a focused way?
I've been thinking about that since it's come up before, and that's what you're talking about today. And I don't like using the word magic because that is repellent to half of the people that I know. They will never change their definition of it. So I wouldn't use that. But I believe that words are spiritual, and powerful, and so they should be positive as much as can be. I mean, sometimes you have to tell somebody something that they don't want to hear, but your intention should be good anyways. I think that your thoughts do create your perception of reality. I see that you're talking about creating situations and things like that, not that, you know, this desk that I'm talking on, that I can think anything to change the shape of this desk, or, you know, that kind of thing isn't going to happen. Well, I mean, I could think,
Or
I'm
is it?
up for firewood, but
Yeah. I like to think of it this way, Chris. Like, I don't know what the limits are, you
Mhm.
know, but I do know that I have self-imposed thoughts that like create my limits, where I think that's not possible. And indeed, the more I think that that's not possible, the more for sure I'll see that indeed it's not going to happen. It's not possible in my life.
well, there is where there's a will, there's a way. So like everybody knew that you can't fly, and somebody found a way to overcome the natural law of gravity, you know, and make a plane. You know, that was because of thought. And I know when I'm at a labor with a woman, that things I say, you know, affect her thinking, you know, and can positively or negatively affect how the birth goes. You know, it's sort of like, it's not like a direct control. You know, you can't just say, okay, this birth is going to be great, you know, and make it so. You know, all you can do is speak positive things that will help go in that direction. You know,
Well,
because there's many factors involved.
Right. I'm going to bring up one of the factors, because we both deal with clients, healthcare clients that we're helping. That's certainly something I do. I'm a licensed acupuncturist over here, and I'm a holistic healthcare professional consulting for people across the mainland and other countries also. And I am very aware of how the thoughts are huge behind the reality for people's situation, certainly my own. So Chris, are you familiar with Louise Hay and her book, you know, You Can Heal Your Life, and this one, which is, you know, Heal Your Body? Louise Hay. No, I highly recommend this one. Any Louise Hay book. The You Can Heal Your Life is the kind of like a thicker version that has most of this in there. Heal Your Body is a short one that just has every single, well, not every single, but a whole bunch of pages. Well, how many pages? Somewhere in the realm of 83 pages of physical symptoms and areas of the body, what they correspond to as far as thought patterns, and then to offer up potential affirmations that would be more conducive to making things work better the way you'd want them to work, you know. So go ahead and, Chris, name an actual medical condition like that's totally different than just being pregnant or having a baby, but like, say, like, if you can mention like what your client has for like medical conditions on the side, and I could look it up and say the thought pattern behind it.
Well, what does she say about lung issues and grief?
Oh yeah, there we
Because,
go.
I had read that somewhere when I had a baby that only lived 2 days, and he had breathing problems. And so I was investigating, you know, all the angles of that, and determined or found this site, or, well, it probably was a book back then that told about the correlation between lung problems and grief.
Yeah.
And when that baby was born, I was grieving because my husband had left me and had an affair. And although he came back before the baby was born, most of the pregnancy I was grieving. And so because I was like, you know, I'm perfectly healthy. I don't know why this baby was not, you know.
Yeah.
And so
That's
is that
serious.
what the connection she would say?
I'm seeing it right here. Yeah. And that also is the connection that we all get in Oriental Medical College, where we're going through acupuncture training, you know, Oriental medical training, that the lungs are associated with the proper actual, like that, hopefully a healthy expression of sadness and grief.
Mhm.
And then it can be out of control, which is like, you know, kind of that where it becomes despair and what people call depression, or it can be suppressed, where then there's a lack of expression of grief altogether, completely suppressed. But here in what Louise Hay has to say is that the lungs correspond to the ability to take in life, and problems of the lungs, such as pneumonia, and I'll look that one up soon, I have to relate to depression, grief, fear of taking in life, not feeling worthy of living life fully. And the affirmations and that she has to remedy the situation are: I take in life in perfect balance. I have the capacity to take in the fullness of life. I lovingly live life to the fullest. And I found really helpful as part of manifestation is to use these types of affirmations. I have them on sticky notes here and there in a few places, that like as a way of handling the upgrade that I work to make my life. It's constantly like an upgrade, you know, like every day is an opportunity for upgrade. So yeah, I'm gonna go right to pneumonia now, because that's kind of related there. PN pneumonia. Pneumonia says here, desperate, tired of life, emotional wounds that are not allowed to heal. And the affirmation to remedy that: I freely take in divine ideas that are filled with the breath and the intelligence of life. This is a new moment. And that is really clear for me about the lungs, because if you're in that moment, you're in the moment, you get 3 minutes without breathing, you know, in the same way as you get about 3 days without drinking water.
Mhm.
And you get about maybe 3 weeks without eating food. You know, I'm not sure what the next one after that one is, but 3 months without shelter, you know,
I don't know,
something like that.
maybe. Depends on the temperature. Depends on if you're in Cleveland, Ohio or Hawaii.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, it can get pretty cold for us here in the wintertime in Hawaii. Like, I don't know how long I could live with zero shelter. Like, I'm not like, you know, I'd have to really be doing my qigong practice, like to like keep my heat up like the whole time. How long can I keep that up? You know, I don't know, but
Yeah, well,
I don't know that
being a human, you would find a way to make some kind of shelter.
I just make some shelter. Yeah, like and a fire, you know, which is the
Yeah,
other
that would
part
be your
too.
top priority.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
why
for me, I pray. I thank God for, I'm thankful, you know,
yeah.
anytime it comes to mind, a change in scenery or whatever, you know, I express how thankful I am for whatever it is.
Gratitude. Yeah,
Mhm.
that definitely was in the last show I got to do on optimism and pessimism. I got to speak to my recipe for that, building the optimism. It started with gratitude, to really like list out when waking up, when going to sleep, list out those things I'm grateful for. And you know, my next part in that recipe was to see where there's patience and persistence in my life, where I'm following through and where I'm allowing things to unfold
Yeah.
patiently, and kind of like this show where I'm allowing it to unfold. And
Well, you're
um,
very young to be so conscious, self-aware and conscious of what's really going on.
thank you for that. Hey, Mike Nimitz has his hand up, so I want to hear what he's got to say.
Yeah.
If he does have something to say, or he's just got a hand print. Someone's put his hand print on his name there.
Oh, okay.
I guess
I was
I
going to
guess he.
say one more thing and then I'll shut up. So there's a verse in the Bible that says all things work together for good to them that love. I don't know if it says Jesus or God there, don't remember. But that's my worldview, is that the things that do happen that affect us will, you know, are something we need, you know, that we can affect or should affect us, make us aware of something or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, all things in this world are working for good, not evil. Even the evil people, you know, they are bringing about changes in the people that want to do good. You know, I mean, opposition is what makes us grow.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that what you just said there, Chris, because it's an easy temptation to go to an older way of thinking of cursing, as Sandy G did in her video, like a little bit, but cursing the memory and people who were involved in the tragedy of perpetuating toxic fluoride, silicosis, fluoridosis, the death and mayhem that were caused by these people, but cursing those people as well, like just perpetuating that angry vibe kind of thing, not really going to be useful. Moving forward is more useful. Being aware of what they did, the dangerous nature, is like being aware of storms coming, being aware of some types of dangerous pack animals that are just doing their natural thing, and their intraspecific kleptoparasites are out there to that they're designed to rip folks like us apart for for money, for profit, for a good copywriting experience, perhaps. Whatever it is, that's their design, like that. It's just part of it. And to treat them like I would try to treat clouds over here. Like if the clouds come on in and settle over, and like I'm hoping to go to the beach after the show, well, that's it doesn't really help me out to be like shaking my fist and cursing at the clouds. And it's
Right.
the same way as these people who were like Edward Bernays, and in terms of what was it, like that the founder of Netflix, that guy, and like not the founder of Netflix, but the present day owner and manipulator of perception management of all the Netflix shows. These people are out there, they're doing their thing, and I think it's good just to be aware of them, and then from there to bear witness to that, but then to make sure that again, thoughts are creating reality. So like I'm not going to focus on cursing these people, especially the dead ones, like
Not unless
Bernays.
you take them to court.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, even still, like
obviously, but
no, like even still though, like I don't have the spare energy to be cursing anyone. Like I'm focused on what I want. If I want to get restitution from the monopoly court system, well, I'm sure some of the folks in this call could tell you how that's going to work out in some cases, but kind of like it's a cost benefit analysis. Where's my energy going? Where's my attention going? So
yeah,
that's what I had. Michael, are you
there
sure?
are a few groups that are having lawsuits be successful against pieces of the machine.
Yeah,
I like what they're doing, so I do support them. Even I mean, I don't know, I mean, I've always been against abortion, but I never felt called to chain myself to an abortion clinic door, but I praise the ones that had the guts to do that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Everybody's called. Only you can decide what you're called to do.
Yeah, that's true. Michael, did you have something that you wanted to pop in with?
Well, in regard to fluoride, I fought a 3-year battle with in Pensacola, Florida, trying to get fluoride out of our water. And, we brought down experts. They screwed us in every way that they possibly could. They scheduled meetings and then they canceled meetings. We'd bring experts from across the country to testify in front of our water board, and they makes, and then we were able to elect somebody onto the water board who was actually pro getting the fluoride out, and they eventually got her. They like over a 3-year period of time, essentially made her kind of disappear from the political realm, by putting pressure on her. But I thought, as far as trying to take political action to change something. I thought fluoride was something that you could, that like it made so much sense to get it out of the water. And, it seemed like, we could have consensus, but that was not the case. In fact, I was talking to Solomon earlier about, like the local dentist, man, they turned into like Nazis. And it was just, it was incredible to see that like this, like the corruption in this little small town government and over this little, thing that, it was essentially poison being put in the water. And yet, you just couldn't change it. And that was kind of the last straw for me in the United States. I just, after that, I was looking for a new place somewhere else.
Well, that's one way to deal with it, is just to leave and or relocate. I've certainly done that. Well, I guess twice in my life, as an adult, choosing a different location, first Vermont and then Hawaii. And yeah, I definitely want to hear, Solomon, what do you want to share if you have your hand up for real? We'll see if he's really there, or it could be he's just faking me out, because that's what people do. Let's do it live. So like we'll have like Rich like raise his hand there, but he'll just like keep it there forever and not have anything to say. But like, I'll tell you something, while we're waiting for Solomon to come back, I'd have a question again for you, Michael, if you can come on back, and we'll see if Sully comes back. Yeah, you can go ahead and name for on yourself, if you're curious to see some parts of affirmations that, like, thoughts that go behind symptoms of yourself, and then actual affirmations that would be helpful for the situation. If you're willing to share anything about yourself or someone that you care about, some one of their symptoms, would you be open-minded for that one?
I mean, I'm up for suggestion, but nothing comes to mind at the moment.
You have no physical symptoms. Everything functions perfectly. Are you serious?
Well, I mean, I'm working on stuff here, so I guess just in general, I would say just my level of confidence in myself. But I'm pretty happy with where we're going with this. So
I meant physical symptoms in your body.
Physical symptoms.
You have nothing. Everything's functioning in your body perfectly. You are like an athlete, and everything is tip top.
Well, I mean, I've got this scar on my lip that, I had a motorcycle accident, and it looks
okay.
It looks
so
very
I'm going to take it this.
but...
I call BS. Okay, because I am younger than you, and I could easily find, like, I know that you got stuff, but you don't want to say it, I think. Or how about this? You have stuff and you don't want to think it, and your subconscious is keeping it hidden from you. I could name like 15 different things for myself, but that's because I'm a medical professional, so I know what there is to fix. I'll start with my knees. I'll give you an example. Specifically the right knee. It's only been like acting up since this, I don't know, sometime around March or something like that, and periodically on and off would be an issue, and I still deal with it. So I can go ahead and look up.
Well, I got knee issues. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple car accidents and a couple motorcycle accidents that damaged both of my knees, and I just I never did anything other than walk away from the stuff. Like when I did go to the hospital, it was just a painful situation, and I just left.
So we both have some of that, like some knee stuff. For me, I know that some of it is also chemical and adrenal fatigue, and even for me, a little bit of parasite has an issue to it as well. But specifically, what Louise Hay says about knees is that it represents pride and ego. And knee problems often represent stubborn ego, pride, inability to bend, fear, inflexibility, won't give in. And those relate to what was going on earlier this year for me, where I I really was not bending on things. I was really inflexible on some components. And so obviously the affirmations that Louise Hay suggests are, I am flexible and flowing. And forgiveness, understanding, compassion. I bend and flow with ease, and all is well. I bend and flow with ease, and all is well. I am flexible and flowing. And this is what I loved about this year and a half of learning yoga, and really not that I didn't know about it before, but like really actually like practicing it, was that an actual flow is called an actual practice where from start to finish, you start like with a training, because I'm not as a teacher yet, but like I certainly go like take a class, and the teacher will call it a flow where from one pose to another, from the very beginning point where we start off to the last position, which is usually shavasana, which means corpse pose. You're lying on your back, and then it's all a flow state from one thing to the next, emphasis on breath and posture and the movement, which is a cue of action, and it's a flow state like that. Hey, Solomon, did you? I saw you raise your hand before. Did you want to say something as someone who knows about fluoride and dentistry?
I don't recall raising my hand, but
oh, that was accidental.
Yeah. Yeah, as I was talking to Mike earlier today, it was just it was, as far as fluoride goes, I was watching the end of the Corbett Solutions report at the end of the year, and he was talking about someone who was, I forget where it was, but they were not sabotaging the water supply, but they were, covertly guerrilla style, taking the fluoride, dumping it out, and letting a whole town go unnoticed with better water to drink than having antidepressants and a neurotoxin in there. So that's yeah, it's a great way to fight back and help people overcome the implicit drugging of a society. And yeah, I'm currently trying to figure out how to transition from administering fluoride in my dental office to something a little bit more holistic and biological. So yeah, it's just stuff that they don't go over with you in dental school. So just have to try and unlearn that and try and figure out better solutions for people. Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I recommend Dr. Hal Huggins, a dentist who I think he has a lot of online resources, and I think it's out of reach, but I definitely have other biological and holistic dental books here. I just, I didn't prep for the dentistry show, but I should have known if once I was tapping into fluoridosis that this is going to go that direction. So I wasn't counting that you'd be here because, Christmas, and like, children, and that's going to like really be focused.
Is he on Library LOL? Does he have any material on there too that you could access, or?
I don't know yet. I mean, that's a really good question. First off, what I do is I look up the books straight up on Google or DuckDuckGo and any other search engine you want to use, just to find the books that the person has written, like their bibliography. And I definitely, and anyone wants to chime in for like the best search engine that I should be using, and I know everyone's going to say don't use Google. I'm gonna, like, YouTube and Google are gonna be used by me when I want certain things. Just like, if I have holistic healthcare questions, I'm presently using DuckDuckGo, that I know that there's better search engines than that. But there are really a lot of resources. Like, I think that when it comes to what to do regarding fluoride, just don't do that. Just don't do that. And then just know what you're trying to do. I'm speaking to Solomon's chair right now because he had to step out and being Christmas. But if you had to do something else, then, like if the purpose was, for example, whitening teeth or preventing decay, then you'd be thinking to give your clients recipes for bone broth how to make your own bone broth, or where to buy it on your own, like where's the good sources of that, as that's a remineralization thing, to Nourishing Traditions, the book, which has a history like of written Weston Price. The Weston Price Foundation has a lot of information on the proper dental health that's happened across the world for all people who lived indigenously and happen to have extremely great teeth, where everything was all in alignment, where the development of the jaw and the mouth was all nicely done, because these people didn't eat tons of grains. They ate, lots of fiber in their diet of fruits and vegetables, and some, small amounts of meats, and especially fish. And that was a component of what was seen by Weston Price regarding dental health. I was just mentioning that, Solomon, like Nourishing Traditions and everything Weston Price Foundation, the work of Dr. Sally Fallon. She's been on many shows going into these topics as well. So yeah, I know I was like, it's almost like turning into an episode of not medical advice, but that was not my intention. I was aiming for really like back to like manifestation, that first part of the Kabbalion of mentalism, of thought creating reality. And
well, but
I'm
that
not
is
sure.
part of it. What you think about health is part of it.
It's true. It does all connect together. I'll agree with that one. I'm curious, does anyone else here want to share something regarding what they've manifested or anything that we've covered so far? And that can include you, Chris. You're welcome to jump back in and share. No, I'm a solo show. Alice, I see that you're not muted, but you don't see you or hear you. So just saying.
Yeah. They're going to fluoridate where I live. We're trying to stop it, but I'm not sure how much luck we'll have.
Where are you located?
In New Zealand.
All right. So how about like can you name the township area, or
Oh, Nelson.
Okay, cool. How about like North or South Island?
South Island.
Okay.
Up the
Cool.
top.
Now if I have that right, that's the island that has Christchurch?
Yes.
I got it right. That's a geography test question. So okay. Yeah, all across the world there'll be people pushing back against the fluoride in the water thing. I think that for the most part, though, it will be happening in Commonwealth countries. And unfortunately, that does include the United States, because even Massachusetts is called a Commonwealth for a reason. And I think that it's interesting to see about the charter, the legalese aspects of control that have swept across the world. Yeah. Well, how's it going with pushing back against fluoride, Alice?
Well, we're speaking to the council. We've done a letter campaign, and we're going to speak to the council in the new year. We've delivered some flyers, and we're looking at developing a common law system for people to stop paying their water rates. So we can help people with that. Because I think it's just a case, at the moment, it's a case of ignore the screamers and carry on. So we'll talk to the council anyway. But they're just saying, oh, the government's told us to do it, so therefore we have to. Even though the Ministry of Health mandate it is on shaky legal ground anyway, so it could be challenged if the council's cared enough to do so. So we're looking at trying to get people to stop paying the water rates. Hopefully we'll get somewhere.
Nice. I hope so too. Well, since you're the one who's not muted, I'll ask you if there's like any type of your body or health condition for yourself or for someone that you care about that you want to hear some thoughts that are behind that possibly, and some actual affirmations that could change those thoughts. Does that interest you, Alice?
Yeah, my dad has started to have memory issues, and he also has really bad lower back issues.
All right. Those are good ones. So, okay. I think I have to look up brain for this one. Let's see. Yep. So, when I go and look up the brain, it represents the computer, the switchboard. And that is one component of it. I am the loving operator of my mind. That is the affirmation that goes with that. And the other one was the low back. So as I flip to that one here, well, I should just do, yeah, the back problems. The lower back often relates to fear of money, lack of financial support. I trust in the process of life. All I need is always taken care of. I am safe. This book actually has specific thoughts and affirmations to go for every single vertebrae. All of the 7 cervical vertebrae, all 12 of the thoracic vertebrae, all 5 of the lumbar spine, the sacrum, and the coccyx. All of that was there. What's that add up to? 7 plus 12 plus 5 plus 2. So all of those, it has everything. So if you have a specific vertebrae, I can speak to that one as well. But
okay, I don't know which specific vertebrae hurts. He's just got he's got some spinal stenosis kind of in the lower back.
Yeah.
And some arthritis.
Yeah, but dementia, which is also a memory issue right there, since it also relates to a refusal to deal with the world as it is, hopelessness and anger. And the affirmation goes with it is, I am in my perfect place and I am safe at all times. And having worked for people with Alzheimer's, I remember how much that it was important for them to really feel that they were safe, that they were always questioning that aspect of their life. So I used to do some home health care back when I lived in Vermont, and I'd have Alzheimer clients, dementia clients, where they just were always questioning reality and just really being a bit on the edge of how things were regarding, like, are things really in the proper place, like how, like, are they in the proper place? They'd remember living somewhere else than where they were living presently, and every day was kind of starting over like that. Obviously there are real things that can medically be done to change the situation beyond just the affirmation itself. If anyone here or watching the show is really curious and interested, I will go ahead and send me an email to voluntaryvisions@gmail.com, mention Do It Live. I'll give you a free half-hour consult, and we can see where we can go from there. I do real consults that go extended into more an hour, and I can help to solve the problems in a more substantial way than giving you a few affirmations from Louise Hay's book over here. But that's an offer. Do you want to, and any other ailments or parts of the body you're curious about, Alice?
I have tinnitus, and I seem to have a problem in my neck, but I don't know if they have ones for that.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, I'll do the neck one first, because that's the upper back. And it says here, lack of emotional support, feeling unloved, holding back love. And the affirmation, I love and approve of myself. Life supports and loves me. So what do you think, Alice? Is anything strikes as accurate around that for you?
Maybe. Yeah. So I love and approve of myself. What was the second part?
Well, life supports and loves me. Those are the affirmations, but the thought patterns about having upper back problems, which includes your neck, are a lack of emotional support. That's this one. If I went to a specific vertebrae, I'd get more precise, but feeling unloved and holding back love. Here, I'm going to go right here to, like, say, you know, because I don't know, do you know your vertebrae? Can you touch them and find like right exactly where it hurts? You can count them, you know. There's 7 of them usually, except a few people have 8. That's a rarity.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they disappear into the head specifically, so I think I'd probably miscount them.
Well, if you put your head back, your hand back there, and there's like a little pocket that should be like right at the base of your skull. That's C1, or cervical 1, also known as the atlas, and that's where it starts. And then if you go down to the lump on the back of your back, if you have one, then and you turn your head, it's the one that's actually moving. There's like, right, so you go above that one lump, which is a vertebrae, and or spinous process basically, and then the one that actually moves when you turn your head, that's C7. So somewhere between those two is about 7 of them, you know, like, or 6 others, or actually 5 others, since I'm going from 1 to 7, there's 5 between them. And you can sort of count down each one of them because they each have these specific thoughts around them. That's kind of interesting. It's a real trick, right? You know, like, if you actually,
I'm not sure exactly,
if you turn the video on, you turned around and you touched right where it hurts, I would tell you what vertebrae it is. You know, I'd tell you. All right. There we go. All the way from New Zealand, we're going to see a neck.
Okay, so it's about here.
It's right there. So that's pretty close to, I would say, C4, C5.
Yeah.
Okay. And right here it says for C4, guilt and repressed anger, bitterness, bottled up feelings, stuffed tears. And for C5, fear of ridicule and humiliation, fear of expression, rejecting one's good, overburdened. Any of that kind of accurate for you?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. So now I can give you the affirmations that go with C4. I am clear in my communication with life. I am free to enjoy life right now. And for C5, my communication is clear. I accept my good. I let go of all expectations. I am loved and I am safe. And because I saw you writing, I'll say them again for everyone watching also, because it might be applicable to you. I am clear in my communication with life. I am free to enjoy life right now. My communication is clear. I accept my good. I let go of all expectations. I am loved and I am safe. And that was your free affirmation consultation for today. Wishing you Merry Christmas over there, because it is Christmas.
Yes, it's Christmas.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And did you get affected by the Christchurch earthquake things going on, or?
We were fairly lucky. We felt it, but we weren't really affected by the earthquake so much. Yeah. Right
on. So same for me over here on the Big Island. I felt the earthquake and was I got to see the sky turn red when the 2018 lava flow was happening, because I was 9 miles away from the flow. I still am actually from that time period, but the impact was more like I didn't have clients who lived there anymore. Like I lost a lot of clientele because they were holistic healthcare and acupuncture was no longer important to them compared to finding a new place to live.
Yes, I suppose.
Yeah. So that's impact. I think we're coming to the close of the show. unless anyone wants to stop me, I'm going to bring Jerry back here for thank you so much, Alice. Yeah. Jerry, are you really available? Just want to
What's going on, Darrell?
hey, I thought I was going to be closing up the show and just wanted to get any of your final thoughts, because your powerful position for today's show.
Yeah, I'm ready to wrap it up when you are.
This is the time to wrap it up. I'm grateful for everyone's attention span, and I do feel like I could talk endlessly on a million different topics, but I always love to, when people are there, I want to make sure that it's focused in a direction that people like. So yeah, thanks for sharing the whole library.lol component. That was fun, and I'm glad people out there can grab the books they want. All right, you guys, we're gonna roll credits now. It's been great, and I'll join in on future Do It Lives as an audience member. But I'm sure me and Cherry will be hosting in the future too. All right.
Thanks for taking this on at the last minute.
That's awesome. All right. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas Eve. Bye, Chris.
Merry Christmas.
Do we want feedback,
everyone.
Darrell? Or
Oh yeah,
Just-
feedback. What
Didn't
is
roll the credits yet.
Merry Christmas, guys.
no need to roll the credits.
Oh, okay.
You guys are the credits. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can even do a checkout too, like that's a thing. But no, I won't put you on the spot, because I know folks are working. So working on making a real Christmas with real people. All right. Bye everyone.